When you do everything right, you're no longer hoping that it's good, you know that it's good.
Started off just challenging us to pursue excellence and to think for ourselves rather than just be a sheep and follow the masses.
Do you know what the hardest part about dentistry is? The hardest part is to think independently of what everyone else is telling you.
It's much better to do a course like this as a soon-to-be grad or as a new grad rather than later in your career.
All the stuff about the fillings and the isolation and even the LA, it's actually been really helpful because you learn all that back in second year, but you forget it.
Communication, you're treating the patient as a person rather than just like a mouth.
Learning about how to talk to patients about expensive cases.
If you want to find out how much people smoke or drink, you have to start with a massively, ridiculously high figure first to take away their embarrassment. So I always start, do you smoke more than 50 cigarettes a day? Oh no, only 32.
Things like this is invaluable. We don't get this kind of teaching in uni.
I want to make a temporary crown. The patient turns up with a broken cusp. So I've done a quick mock-up with some composite so I can make an impression so that I can make a temporary crown. This is like a minute's work.
The applications for composite are a lot wider than I thought they were. You're taught indications and contraindications for materials and it's sort of presented as an absolute, like you do not use composites for areas with poor moisture control, but then an operator that's got a lot of clinical experience can say, well, actually if you prepare like this and you've got this type of circumstance, then it is appropriate.
Things like rubber dams that we're just like taught to overlook. He makes it look like an art.
Also the sequencing of restorations, having that particular pattern to do things in and follow each time obviously looks like it makes it a lot more quick and practical.
Routines are very important because routines allow you to think less. So you notice that I've only taught you about 3 things today. Okay, aerobraid stuff, put pink stuff on it before you aerobraid it, and then go primer, bond, and then composite, and have your tails towards the buckle. That's about all I've taught you.
I've learnt so much, just restorative wise, like using a microbrush instead of a flat plastic or a ball burnisher. Little tips like that, it's really useful for clinical practice.
My reduction is always done by the thickness of the burr. Now I get that burr sunk 1 millimetre into tooth and I drive it all the way around tooth.
The techniques he uses with respect to like adapting matrix bands and things like that and wedging, it's in dental school, it's something you're just sort of abstractly taught about. It's not really something that you think about, but then when it's explained to you like this is the effect and if you don't do it, this is what happens, this is what goes wrong, I think that's like why it's important.
But it has to be below the margin all the way from the plate. So you need to be able to poke the wedge through there and that wedge stays below the margin.
Hiroshima taught us a lot about pregnancy and radiation. Until you get over 100 millisieverts of radiation, it's just not going to affect an embryo. If the radiation is indicated for good clinical reasons, you should do it.
I really enjoyed Leonie's talk on pregnancy and dentistry. That was really interesting.
We remove brain tumours on pregnant women. So your dental procedure is basically nothing much. So go right ahead. And definitely don't let people sit through their whole pregnancy with teeth rotting out and things that need to be fixed.
Dentists, I find, all have this urge to do nice work and they will cut corners for a while, but if they get forced to do that for their entire career, they soon start hating dentistry.
The emotional price and actually everything. Because those are things that you don't really hear from other professionals. People don't go down to the nitty-gritty stuff and say, hey, this is actually what matters.